Amidst all the going-ons that's happening in the ICC ODI World Cup of 2023, yesterday there was a major shock when Sri Lanka's World Cup campaign ended and they are now on the brink of almost not qualifying even for the ICC Champions Trophy 2025. The other major jolt that came up was that the ICC had suspended Sri Lanka cricket. Why were they suspended? Pure, simply government interference. In the last 4 years, Sri Lanka became the second nation to get suspended from the ICC after Zimbabwe. But however, in this entire situation, we will only come to know about Sri Lanka's fate on November 21st. Is this a ban? No. The suspension is not a ban. Sri Lanka cricket has gotten into this kind of a situation because of what has already been existing in the past. But now, because of the excessive government interference at this time, Sri Lanka cricket has been made to pay. And in this video, I will tell you what are the impact. How will it impact Sri Lanka cricket? Whether they can participate in all the other existing tournaments that are there. Will Sri Lanka cricket suffer the same fate like what Zimbabwe had? And what is this political interference which has brought about, which has resulted in the ICC suspending Sri Lanka? So, Sri Lanka have been suspended by the ICC and the reason is excessive government interference. But the twist here is that Sri Lanka cricket themselves requested the ICC that you have to suspend us. Why did they do that? Why did they want to take a drastic step in that sense? Because SLC President Shami Silva himself wanted to tell the ICC, look at the level of government interference that we have. And that is why the move was apparently done, according to several media reports, including one in ESPN Cricinfo that are stating, move apparently done in order to show ICC about Sri Lanka government interference. Now remember, in this entire debate, ICC has recognized Shami Silva as the SLC president and not the interim committee that was there for just one day. So, the entire twist to this matter is that Sri Lanka cricket themselves asked the ICC to suspend them because they wanted to know the real truth about what is the government interference all about. So, what is exactly the timeline? Why exactly has this government interference come about? Following Sri Lanka's disastrous World Cup, where they just won 2 games and are now in risk of not qualifying for the ICC Champions Trophy, Sri Lanka Sports Minister Roshan Ranasinghe, they sacked the entire board. The Sports Ministry sacked the entire board and appointed an interim committee under former World Cup winner Arjuna Ranatunga. Now you'll all be wondering, how come the Sports Minister has gotten the right to sack the entire Sri Lanka cricket board? He has that power. It has been there since 1973. It is part of Sri Lanka's sports code where everybody from the SLC, right from who manages it, right from the players' appointment, right from clubs functioning, everything will be vetted by the Sri Lankan Sports Ministry. It's there in their code. And that is why for the past 50 years, Sri Lanka cricket and the Sports Minister have worked hand in hand. Government interference was there even then, but now the ICC has suddenly woken up to it. SLC, when Roshan Ranasinghe made that decision to sack the entire board, at that time SLC appealed to the court and the board was reinstated. The interim committee lasted only 1 day. And after the court reversed the order, stating that SLC was the official representative, the court then had a 14-day stay order of the gazette issued by the government. So now this is an ongoing situation. On Monday, which was about 5 days ago, now next to next Monday, by the end of the month, you are probably going to see what happens with Sri Lanka cricket. Because this is an ongoing tussle. Roshan Ranasinghe, his first order was then vetoed by the court. Now, after 2 weeks, after the stay order to the Gazette has happened, what's going to happen? It's anybody's guess. What was the exact ICC statement? ICC was really concerned about the fact that Sri Lanka cricket is in serious breach of its obligations as a member, in particular the requirement to manage its affairs autonomously and ensure that there is no government interference. Now remember, the ICC has the mandate to ensure Sri Lanka can be suspended because it is there in their constitution. Sri Lanka were guilty of breaching Article 2.4 C and D of the ICC constitution. What is that? I'll come to it a little bit later. This is the one. Article 2.4 section C and D of the ICC constitution states, ICC members have to ensure that its statutes provide a process for free and fair democratic elections and appointments from amongst its members or nominees for its executive body. It determines its office holders by free and democratic elections in accordance with the process set out on its statutes. Manage its affairs autonomously and ensure that there is no government or other public or quasi-public body interference in its governance. Regulation and administration of cricket in its cricket playing country, including in operational matters, selection, management and in the appointment of coaches or support. In every single aspect of it, Sri Lanka has been found guilty. But yet again it raises questions on the ICC. Why do it now? That too when Sri Lanka cricket themselves asked the ICC to suspend it. Why couldn't the ICC, before even giving member status to Sri Lanka, also agreed with the fact that because your country has excess political interference right from the very beginning, why couldn't they have taken action before that? This is where the ICC have been caught unawares. You also have to understand that there is political interference even in the case of Pakistan. But Pakistan somewhat escape every single time. Why? The PCB patron-in-chief is the president of Pakistan. Now, at this point, the president just has to rubber stamp it. He will never interfere directly in selection matters. For example, when PCB sacked Inzamam ul Haq as the chairman of selectors, they did it autonomously. That is what the official thing is. But in the case of Sri Lanka, Roshan Ranasinghe's appearance made it very blatant. And that is why they have had to ensure that ICC takes it. Remember, ICC themselves would not have taken this step. Sri Lanka cricket requested the ICC that you suspend us. Now, even if Sri Lanka cricket had an interim committee, it would have not changed the situation with Sri Lanka. Because the last time that there was an interim committee in 2014 and 15, at that time, ICC stopped the funds directly to Sri Lanka. It put it in an escrow account. Now, what is an escrow account? An escrow account is an account that is held by a third party. So, when they want the funds, they will release it on a legitimate ground. But apart from that, they won't release it. That is why you see Sri Lanka cricket, their accounts are in a third party situation in the US. That escrow account was all due to the interim committee appointment in 2014-15. SLC, the other big thing, they were demoted to only observer status. That means whatever decisions were there, whatever were the rules that they had to be implemented, whatever were the ICC board meetings, Sri Lanka could only be there as an observer, not as any other member with a dominant veto power in that sense. Now, as I had mentioned, Sri Lanka became only the second team in 4 years to be suspended by the ICC after Zimbabwe. Now, many people were asking, is it the same thing? Just like Zimbabwe, is Sri Lanka banned? No, Sri Lanka are not banned. Zimbabwe was suspended and banned. Why? ICC were confirmed, they first froze the funds. ICC were concerned that the funds would be diverted to the government rather than building in cricket infrastructure in Zimbabwe. So that was the first immediate concern. And ICC saw direct interference from Zimbabwe Sports and Recreation Committee. And that is why they had the legitimate grounds under Article 2.4 of the Constitution to ban them. Zimbabwe cricket elections at that time in June 2019 were supposed to be held. They were never held. And that is why there were three major a priori grounds on which ICC could ban Zimbabwe. And that's why Zimbabwe couldn't participate in the 2019 qualifiers, if you can remember. So that is why big concern that came about. Now the major question. How is this going to impact Sri Lankan cricket? What is going to impact the players? How will it impact the board? Firstly, the suspension is not going to cause any major harm to Sri Lanka cricket right as of now, because the suspension is not a ban. Major rule number one, it is just a suspension, which means it's a warning. It isn't an action, it's just a warning by the ICC. Second, no immediate impact on Sri Lanka as no series is planned until December. So till December, Sri Lanka have no series planned whatsoever. After that, maybe in December they'll have a couple of series. Maybe one of the teams will come to Sri Lanka as part of the World Test Championship. Funds from the ICC, remember they release the funds on a quarterly basis. Funds from the ICC will not come to Sri Lankan cricket until January 2024. And further action, what should be the course of action taken, will happen only on November 21. So at this point in time, Sri Lankan cricket is just in a limbo. There is no specific action as such. It won't impact them that much. But remember, if Sports Minister Roshan Ranasinghe has his way and he somehow manages to ensure that the court order is reversed and that the interim committee is appointed, then Sri Lanka might be banned. That's the way it is, because this is direct government interference on the interim committee. You would argue that maybe in Pakistan and in India, the COA and all that, remember, the Committee of Administrators was not a government appointed, it was a judicial appointment. You've had several instances in India also where there was direct government interference and most sporting bodies were banned. AIFF was banned. The Wrestling Federation of India, because they did not hold the elections and still there is a limbo, UWW have banned the WFI. So that is the reason why sporting bodies, when you look at it in the Asian subcontinent, there is massive government interference. Sri Lanka cricket, this prism that you're looking at it now, that has already been there for 50 years, ever since 1973. Sports Minister makes a direct communication about who to select, who not to select, when the board should be dissolved, when it should not be dissolved. Because SLC requested ICC, you suspend us, only now action's been taken. Otherwise, the ICC did not have the guts to directly ban Sri Lanka. They had the guts only for Zimbabwe. But for Sri Lanka, because it's part of the powerful Asian bloc, they didn't have the guts. That is why. Thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates on Sports Today. Tap that bell icon so that when we go live. And don't forget, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Thank you.